Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You're sideways.
Am I? Okay. I
Yeah,
had to do it on my phone
there you go.
because. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
that's cool. Yeah, hey, it's funny. I just rushed. I was riding my bike. I was in Mahopac actually, riding my bike just to do. I'm doing a cancer, raising money for children with cancer. So I had to get my miles in today. So I was just
Uh-huh.
riding there. I kind of missed the time, so I got back at like 5 minutes to three, like rambling. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'd probably just pass by, like, you could have been hanging out somewhere there.
Yeah. Well, I just finished school, but
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, sure. I forgot it's Friday. I'm on vacation this week, so I forgot it's Friday.
Yeah. I just got off like not too long ago, so I ate something and then
Cool.
now I'm here.
Yeah. Hey, well, thanks for popping on. And it's been a little while since we've been trying to put this together, but I'm glad we can make it
Mhm.
happen. So we'll kind of edit the podcast if there's anything you're gonna like. So we'll just get rolling with it.
Yeah.
And I've got like a few questions. When we started this podcast, we kind of wanted to make it episodes to be 20 to 30 minutes long. We've never succeeded in that yet. They're always longer. So don't worry about how long it goes. But I've got just a few questions. The goal of the podcast, as I wrote to you, is really just try to take elite athletes and kind of pick their brain and learn what makes them elite. I mean, look, there's dozens of girls that you play softball with on your team and other teams, and there's a reason why you're better than so many of them. And then maybe other handful of the girls who are in that same category. But there's something that you guys do, besides just God-given talent, that makes you special. So I'm gonna ask some questions around that and to try to learn your secret sauce, and be able to share that with the younger audience, and maybe they can kind of emulate it and kind of do the same. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I guess we'll start off with this. You're a very successful softball player, and a pitcher, and
Mhm.
you've had the rare feat of throwing a perfect game.
Yeah.
So, for our audience's sake, maybe start by explaining what a perfect game means, and we can go from there.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. So just tell us what a perfect game is.
Oh. So in softball, a regular perfect game is when no one gets on base, so the pitcher doesn't let up any hits, doesn't give up any walks. It's a straight 21 batters up, 21 batters out. But the rare thing about the perfect game was that it's when you strike everyone out and not one person even put the ball into play. It's 21 strikeouts, 21 outs.
Which is pretty phenomenal. 21 up, 21 down, all strikeouts. No one even put a bat on the ball virtually. That's crazy. That's just crazy. And if I remember correctly, the game prior, you struck out 20 batters
Yeah.
in a perfect
Yes.
game as well. Um,
It was a perfect game. It was a one hitter.
oh, one hitter. Okay. Damn that one person.
I
uh,
know. It was like the
but
first.
yeah, I mean, that's pretty incredible. And so, how long have you been playing softball?
Literally since I can remember. My mom and dad played softball and baseball, and then I have an older brother and older sister, which played baseball and softball. So I was always at the field, and then I just kind of would pick up a ball. I was always dragged along the sideline, so I would just pick up a ball, being bored at the game, and I joined a league as soon as I could, which was first grade, and then now here I am.
So it's in the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And to was it only sport you played?
No, I actually still play soccer and basketball. I've been
Oh, you
playing
do.
those since I've played soccer the longest. I love soccer. I've played basketball for a while too. I've tried volleyball and lacrosse. Those didn't stick, but yeah, I'm three-sport athlete.
Oh, nice, nice. And now you're going to go to Notre Dame, for college, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's still the plan. And you're going to focus on softball there, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that's because you just excel a little bit more there than you do in soccer and other sports.
Yeah, softball is definitely my number one, and what I'm going to stick to. So just finish out my last year playing all 3 sports, and then Notre Dame, just
Great.
stick to softball.
Yeah, and do you find that playing other sports kind of helps you in your softball?
Yeah, I think that's actually like a key part of my game. Like, some people believe specializing in one sport is better. Some people believe playing other sports is better. For me, I think that the 3 sports was definitely a big part of my success, because I just think being athletic and working other parts of the body and I never had an overuse injury, knock on wood, but I just think strengthening other parts of the body that you would do, jumping for a rebound in basketball or kicking a soccer ball, you can't get that in softball just because it's different movements. So I think that playing 3 sports has definitely made me athletic and strengthened my entire body rather than just a couple parts of the body for softball.
Yeah, and I think that's fairly consistent feedback that we've gotten from other athletes who kind of believe in that as well. It helps you become a better athlete overall, and athleticism is going to help in whatever you do. With softball, were you always a pitcher?
Yeah, my sister and brother were both pitchers, so that kind of like ties in. I was just like the little sister, just following what they did. But I was always a pitcher. Like, I would go to their pitching lessons and stuff. I did play everywhere though, like shortstop, center field, catcher, you name it, I've played there.
Yeah.
But once I got older, it was like, okay, you kind of gotta pick one. I mean, gotta give and take some. So
Yeah.
now I'm a pitcher.
There's a little specialization, obviously, when you get to, the higher levels you get, you got to, dedicate yourself to one aspect of the game and one sport more than, others. So that makes perfect sense. So tell me a little bit about what makes you, I'll use the word special, right? What makes you a special pitcher? I know that you have, your family grew up in it, you've been around it, you've been exposed to it, and you have a passion for it, which I think fuels a lot of that. But, and I'm sure you go to practice every single day, you do all the things the coaches tell you. What are the extra things you do that make you, that you attribute to making you, the best you can be?
I think, like you said, like, I do everything that the coaches say to do, but even after that, it's like doing more than what they ask you to do. So if, like, I'm at practice, I'm throwing a bullpen after practice, and I'm running before practice, just putting in as much work as I can to better myself and never settling for what is considered good and always wanting to be better than good and be the best. And something that's considered good, I'm not satisfied with that. I think that literally reach for the stars, and I think that you should always strive to do the best that you can be, and that just comes with determination and making sacrifices to make sure that you're putting in all the effort that can make you the best. Like, I've sacrificed like social hangouts, like stuff like that, to throw a bullpen, to like go to the field an extra 2 hours, So I just think doing more, going above and beyond of what is good, or like the level of what your coaches expect, going above that, if that makes sense.
And is that something that you learned from your parents or from coaches, or is it something that just always has been inside of you?
I mean, I just think it's something that, I'm a perfectionist. Like, I just think it's something that you have to want for yourself, because no one can make you. You can push yourself as hard as you want to be pushed. As much as someone tells you to do something, it comes down to how much you want it. And I think that's just me just wanting to be the best at everything I do and trying everything I can do to be the best.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm a wrestling coach, which is, it's a team sport, but it's also very individualized. You're in a team sport. I mean, it's totally a team sport. How do you react to players, or how do you deal with players who don't give the effort that you give, right? Or even come close? I mean, I'm sure there's people on your team who give similar effort, and there's people who don't give nearly the effort that you have. I've coached for years, and that's the reality. The reality is that 10% of the team, or 20% of the team, or 30% of the team is not going to give the effort that you really want them. They'll do what you say in practice, but you know they're not taking ground balls, you know, and before practice. They're not working on the things that are weak out of practice. They're just doing what coach says, and that's it. How do you deal with that to make your team better?
Well, on a personal note, you just have to make sure that like personally for me, I would always have to make sure I wouldn't get dragged into that kind of thing, like saying, "Oh, come on, like let's just go do this." Like, no, like I want to practice. You know, you just have to make sure that you set your own standards and that you don't get dragged into like that kind of thing, which it's also, I feel like, just kind of what you want. Like, I've always wanted to play D1. Some other people that I've played with, maybe they just play for fun, and that's completely fine. But there's a fine line between like playing for fun and doing everything at practice, and then at practice like maybe goofing off and trying to get other players to goof off. So if it comes to that, I would stand up and say, guys, like, let's focus, come on, like 30 minutes left to practice, whatever. But I just think on a personal note that you just have to make sure you don't get dragged into that. And as a team note, if you do see that, I would always just make sure it doesn't get dragged into the team.
Mm-hmm. So if I can kind of recap that a little bit, so you're definitely not a follower, right? And or having a goal like playing D1 is what keeps you kind of from allowing yourself to fall in anything, right? You kind of always remind yourself that my goal is to be D1, and this is not going to help me get to that level. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And earlier you said, you know, sacrifice. You've made some sacrifices and social things, and I've talked to a lot of athletes, especially on this podcast, and it's funny that a lot of them, when I bring that up, they'll feed back to me that, yeah, I've made sacrifices, but they don't really feel like sacrifices because, number one, I either surround myself with people who have the same kind of mindset as me, or two, my goal is so strong that it doesn't really feel like a sacrifice. Is that same thing with you?
Yeah, definitely. I think like I'd rather sometimes be at a softball field than be playing with my friends, doing whatever. So I think that, I guess sacrifice is the best word I could use to describe it. But in my eyes, it's not a sacrifice. It's just like a social sacrifice, I guess. But definitely surround yourself with people that want the same things as you and will push you instead of like bring you down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That, and I use the word sacrifice and you use the word sacrifice because that's the thing that comes to mind. But it's interesting that high level athletes are not really recognizing it as sacrifices, where the average player kind of feels like, oh, I got to make this giant sacrifice to do this. And I was listening to Doc Rivers. You know, Doc Rivers, right? He's a coach of the Clippers. He used to be the coach of the Celtics, and he was talking about himself, and he used the word practice, and he goes, I can't even stand it when people used to say to me, you got to go to practice. He goes, when people say, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to play ball. Like, I'm going to play ball because that's what I love to do. So it's like very similar to you guys. You know, you feel like I'd rather be playing softball than something else. It's not hard work for me. It's not practice. It's doing what I want to do. So when you have the goal of playing D1, is that something that you know, a lot of people will write down goals and they'll kind of look at them and they'll read them. Is that what is your goal setting process like?
So from like, I guess a pretty young age, I actually kind of owe it to my pitching coach. Obviously I did have personal goals, but she made me write them down so I couldn't get sidetracked from them. I would know they were there and that I would have, like, I would be able to see them. So I would say every like 6 months or so, I would write some short-term goals, which would be like hit 4 out of 5 location spots, or like increase 2 miles per hour, that kind of stuff. From long-term goals, which I still haven't fulfilled some of mine, like playing for the U.S. Olympic team, playing D1, like that kind of stuff. So I definitely had a lot of goals and I wrote them all down. And if once I completed one, I would move on to the next one. I would never say, okay, I completed my goal, I'm done. I would always move on to the next one.
And those goals all seem result based, right? They're all outcome based. And I know a lot of, what we talk about, what we teach is process over outcome. And you definitely have a process. Do you do any goals that are just process, that are just effort related?
Yeah.
Like for example, take, 16 batting practices this week or
Yeah.
something like that, so that you can always have the success, even if you're not yet achieving the result goal.
Yeah, exactly. It would be like pitch 4 days a week and do something like exercise related the days I'm not pitching or something like that. So I would have like goals that you could see on a number, because I feel, or that you can measure, because I don't know, I was just saying or I was taught like measurable goals, because you could clearly see if you achieve them or not, but also you can't get the numbers without the process. So the process definitely goes into that.
Yeah, yeah. And when we talk about process, do you have routines that you follow? I mean, I know you have some, because you're on a team and there's just routines that are part of that, right? You have school and you have, practice, but do you have daily routines things that you do every day to keep you on track, whether it's workouts or reading or whatever it might be?
Yeah, I think I switch them around sometimes, just because like doing the same thing over and over, that is a routine, but sometimes I just like to switch it up. So like maybe for a couple months I will pitch like during the week, and during the weekend do like exercise related things. Like I would say like my routine that I've stuck with a lot is pitch 4 to 5 days a week and work out 5 to 6 days a week, like on top of that. And then obviously like school and that kind of stuff. But I would say like working out and pitching have always been part of my routine. And then just like little things within that routine, I guess, like I do bands a lot. That's part of the routine, like every day. So
And
yeah.
being a three-sport athlete
Mhm.
doesn't leave you a lot of time. It's not like you're in one season and the season ends, you have nothing to do, and now you got to fill a routine. There's another season where
Mhm.
people are giving you routine anyway, right? I
Yeah.
mean, basketball practice and all other things you do. So that makes a lot of sense. Um, what do you do anything? I know, again, I'm taking a lot of information and I talk to a lot of other young athletes. Do you do anything with keeping notes or journals to kind of track performance and how you feel during a certain game, and look back at those things? Is that something that's part of your process?
Yeah, definitely. A big thing, again, with my pitching coach, Larissa Porcelli, I owe a lot to her.
Yeah, give her a shout out for sure.
Yeah, shouting her out. She would always make me bring a notebook to a lesson, and if something clicked in my head, I would write that down. So I could sometimes like, oh, I was so in the moment, I forgot what she said, and now I can't get it, and like, so it's always, if that ever happens, you can look back in your notebook and, no, okay, she said this, and maybe that'll click in my mind again. So I would have a notebook when I go to lessons. If someone said something that would be beneficial to me, I would write that down. And I would also write after a game, like you said, how I feel, how I did, what I could do better, what I did good, what I want to work on, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. We had on a guest a couple of weeks ago, young girl like yourself, same age as you, Tess Stapleton. She's a Connecticut track and field person. She just won Gatorade Player of the Year in track and field. And we were talking about journaling, and she pulled out her journal from when she was like in middle school, instead of reading us things that she wrote down in middle school. She really was into it, and it helped her. One, it helped her track where she was with performance, but it also helped her with anxiety, just knowing she'd be able to write down her feelings during each of those events too, and check where she was. So definitely an important part of what's going on. Take me to when you're in a game, and we can start with your perfect game. So
Mm-hmm.
during your perfect game, what is your mindset? At the beginning of that game, and then as you start to realize, wow, I'm just mowing people down left and right here. I'm in real control. What's your mindset during that?
Yeah, so I think the perfect game, like any other game, it was also senior night. And I was sophomore, so I was like I just wanted to get the win for my seniors. I wasn't going out there trying to throw a perfect game, but I went out there, same mindset as always. That batter, that pitch, just compete and win that batter, win that pitch. So that was how I started the game. That's how I went through, honestly, most of the game. And I feel like I didn't even realize, one of my teammates, it was like the 5th inning or something. She was like, Shannon, are you going to strike everyone out? And I was like, oh yeah, like, yeah, right. Like,
That's
whatever.
the idea, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I was like, yeah, like, yeah, whatever. So, I didn't think anything of it. So I was just the whole game didn't even phase me. Just the usual, like, wanting to win that pitch, get that batter out. And then I will say the last inning, I was like, oh my God, I struck everyone out. And I was like, I have 3 more batters left. So I was like, I was a little nervous that inning. I was like, just because I like wanted to strike everyone out. Not that like, just because it was like, I want to strike everyone out. It was just like that feeling how I was saying before, like never settle for what's good. Like 20 strikeouts in a game is good, but I wanted all 21. So I was like a little nervous, but not a bad nerves. I was just like, I could feel my heart start racing a little bit more. And the last batter actually, I got behind 2-0 and I was like, oh my God. And I looked at my coach and she was like take a deep breath, you got it. And then I wound up coming back in 3 straight strikes. But I would say the whole game, really, I did not think about it at all. I was really just trying to get the win for my team and just get the batters out. I was not trying or thinking about it at all. But I will say the last inning, it kind of sunk in. I was like, wow.
Wow. I mean, there's so much great stuff in that answer that I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is, my question is, did the previous game of getting 20 out of 21, did that enter into your mind that last inning?
The 20, no. Mm-mm.
It didn't. Like, hey, and by the way, what number batter was the one who got the hit? Was that where was that? Was that last inning or was that early innings?
It was the first inning.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, it was like well, it was like a bunt hit, so it was like that. But that, I feel like that's why I didn't think about it, because if I were to have lost it in the last inning, I would have been
Right.
like,
If it was a
I wonder
20th batter, you'd have been like,
yeah,
eh.
yeah. No, it was after that, which I think is why it didn't click.
Yeah. And then you talked about taking your approach to pitching is one pitch, one batter at a time. Is that the mindset you have?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's all most successful athletes either have that or, really learn to incorporate that into their game plan. Some people say 200 feet in front of me. That's all I'm worried about. 200 feet in front of me. And you're doing it one batter at a time. So that's pretty awesome. So we looked at the perfect game. You must have, somewhere along the way, you must have a struggle game. There must be a game where you're just not completely in your zone, in your moment. You're in a situation, maybe a couple people on base, whatever, you need to get a big out, and your body language and your mindset goes from that feeling completely superior, that completely confident, and everything's going right, to maybe it's a little less than that. What do you do? What is your refocus? How do you refocus things and get yourself back on track? Do you have a technique for that?
Yeah. So I think, just like I was saying, which is why I think one batter, one pitch at a time. Doesn't matter what happened before. Doesn't matter what happens next. I just want to get that. If I'm having bad inning, I want that batter one step closer to getting out of the inning. Like, I want that batter out. And I also think, saying with like the body language and stuff, like a big part of that is not letting, if you're having a bad inning, like not letting that get to you, and not getting to mentally where you're showing it all over your body and stuff. You just want to fight through it, get that next out. That's, I think, with pitching and even softball as a whole, or even all sports, I feel short-term memory is a really big thing, because once it happens, there's nothing you can do about it. And when I was little, I could definitely say that was like a big thing that I had to learn, because like I said, I'm a perfectionist, so someone would get a hit and I'd be all upset. But I think a big thing that you have to learn is you're not always going to get everyone out, and you're always going to have a bad inning, bad game. It's going to happen, especially with the game like softball. So you just have to worry about not focusing on that and just focusing on what you can do, because you can change the future. You can't change what already happened.
Yeah. So, we always talk about control. First of all, control the controllables, right? That's what you can control, is what you can control. And, Urban Meyer's book, Above the Line, he talks about the R factor, meaning the response. The formula he uses is E plus R equals O. Event plus response equals outcome. The only thing we can control really is the response. And that's exactly what you're talking about. So a lot of wisdom there for a 17 or 18, how old are you?
17.
17-year-old girl, when you're on the same level with a multi-time national winning champion. So that's great mindset. So when we talk about, one batter at a time, when you're in a tight situation and when things are not going 100% the way you want them to, are you able to always keep that mindset, or do you have to sometimes look over your coach, or do you have sometimes, I know like batters will kind of step out of the batter's box, they'll adjust their gloves, and that'll be their refocus moment. Or a pitcher might look at a dot they have marked on their shoe just to kind of remind them to get back. Do you have a technique like that, or is it you just have that in your mindset all the time?
Yeah, when I feel like I need to refocus or something, I would say I have a coach. I'm actually very lucky that I have a coach on every team that I play for, that I'll look to them and they'll give me a little like deep breath, like it's okay.
Right.
Very lucky to have that, but I've also learned that you're not always going to have a coach and that kind of stuff. So my thing is I will walk to the back of the circle, take a deep breath, let it out, and that'll let out everything. And then I turn around, and then I take another deep breath, and then hopefully that helps me get refocused.
That's awesome. So breathing routine is part of your deal.
Yeah, I used to, maybe I still do, I just don't really pay attention to it. Like, take a deep breath. I would take one after the pitch, after I get back to the dugout, not the dugout, after I get to the end of the circle, and then once I step on the mound.
Yeah. And you watch video of any of the great athletes. We're talking softball, baseball right now, and you'll see Jake Arrieta, you'll see other pitchers. They'll step out, they'll do that breath, they'll refocus, and throw that next pitch. So you're in good company with that stuff. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. What other things that you might do that if you were talking to a 12-year-old, 13-year-old athlete just coming up, what advice would you give them, whatever sport, but what advice would you give them on how to be the best athlete they can be?
Yeah, I would definitely say practice. That is like my biggest thing. Just going, like we were talking about before, just going like above and beyond, doing what you were asked. I think that was like one of the biggest parts to my success. Like there comes a point where you're like, okay, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to set my mind to it. So I think practicing and doing whatever you can to get better and stay driven. And like I said, or like you said before, process over outcome, because I could tell you when I was a little younger, it was not the prettiest, but it was always the process. So if I threw a ball 10 feet over the catcher's head, I didn't care because it was fast. Like I was like not slowing down for that. So I would say to the younger girls, like, don't worry about the outcomes as much and just worry about the process, which is exactly what you were saying. That's definitely a big part of it. But I would say practice and process.
And the other side of that process is you talked earlier about throwing a ball and placing it exactly where you want to place it. Well, in softball, you can do that, right? You can do everything right. You can throw that ball exactly where you want to do it. And she puts the bat on the ball, and your shortstop is a foot in the other direction, or it takes a wicked, crazy bounce on the field. You can't control that. And that's why you have to be able to release and let go and refocus, which is what you do, which is what makes you successful. That's phenomenal. So besides athletics, what are you focused on what are you looking to focus on in college, outside of sports? So, what's field of study you're looking for?
Yeah, so right now I'm still a little bit undecided. Like a dream job right now, I think I want to work for ESPN or something like that. I always said it'd be so cool to be like NFL sideline reporter after the game or something like that. So at Notre Dame, I know that they have a really good
Communications.
yeah, it's called film and television, I think. But I mean, you can't go wrong at Notre Dame. So if I want to change it or whatever, I'm definitely lucky enough to be going to such a great school.
Couple more questions. Are you a reader by any chance? Like, do you read other things outside of what you're assigned to read in school? Is that part of
Uh,
your?
I'm not gonna lie.
Not really.
Yeah, I'm really not a reader.
That's fine.
I don't not enjoy reading. Like if I have to read a book for school, I'm fine with that. But I think also part of that is because I played 3 sports for such a long time. It's just I haven't had much free time to read. But I'm not against it. But I don't like read in my
Yeah.
free time.
And I know you have limited free time,
Mm-hmm.
and most of the things that you like to do are sports related. Other
Mm-hmm.
than sports related, what are the things that you kind of enjoy doing?
I like traveling a lot. Seeing like different parts of the country, which sports have taken me different places there, so that ties in. But yeah, I think like when I get older, I definitely am gonna want to travel. I like drawing a lot. I'm not good at it, or like coloring maybe. I think it's really relaxing. I don't do that a ton, but I do enjoy it. Trying to think, just like hanging out with my friends when I can, listening to music, just
Yeah, like I
normal.
said, your schedule is so packed,
Mm,
and you just love athletics, so that's enjoyment for you.
yeah.
Um, how about when you're preparing? Just talked about music for a minute. Do you use music to prepare you before your games? What kind of music do you listen to? Do you use different music for different types? Like for one for getting pumped up for the game, another for kind of now I'm relaxing, or just what's your musical choices?
I listen to pretty much everything, like everything from country to pop to rap, that kind of stuff. I think like definitely a big part or a big thing that gets me excited before a game is like when we're all on the bus for an away game and we listen to music before the game. I don't know, that just really gets me pumped up. Like when we have like a good song playing, like really upbeat and that kind of stuff, and it just gets me like excited to like go out there and just play. And I think it doesn't matter what kind of music. I just like listening to music and singing like before a game.
That relaxes you. Yeah,
Mm.
provision. So last question for me is, you talked about your goals that you have, playing D1, and you're obviously already going to achieve that. You have the opportunity to do that. Have you started to look at what your goals beyond that would be?
Yeah, so obviously I want to be successful at Notre Dame, maybe like have a couple records there. That'd be cool. But also I think everyone's dream is always to play for the US Olympic team. So I'm still striving to make it there. If not the US Olympic team, I think it'd be cool to play for like I don't know, like the Irish national team or something, like compete in the Olympics in some way.
And
Because they're coming back.
what is the process for that right now? What is the process to play for the Olympic team? How do you get on that team?
Yeah, there's like I think there's like training camps and stuff. You have to be invited. Then once you go to the training camps, you get to a tryout, and then they pick from that group. And then there's a junior women's national team, which usually like would be like a freshman in college, and then they would move up from the junior team to the national team.
So that's probably the next step for you, right?
Yeah, that's always been a goal, and I'm not gonna give it up. So I would I just think that'd be cool.
Yeah, never give it up. Don't give it up. And especially, you're on track, right? You're doing the things already. The process is there, the routines are there, the mindset is there, the talent is there. So yeah, don't give that up. So I guess I lied. I have one more question, and that is, how do you see, or how do you experience, or has anyone talked to you about how your training and routines would change or should change as you get to the college level, to prepare for college? Because high school is one level, obviously, and then college, now you're going to deal with people at your caliber from all over the country coming together, right, on the team. So what is your training change going to look like, if there is one?
I know, like, specifically, I'm not sure if, like, this is what you were asking, but I know right now I don't lift, and I know in college, we start lifting, so that'll be a change from that. I think right now, like, I have a pretty, like, I would say, like, I have a big work ethic. I like to work hard. Going into college, I think I'm gonna keep that work ethic, and even if I need to work harder, I will. I just think the part with that'll be maybe a little different is like the conditioning and stuff. Like, usually I condition on my own, or like even like the team, like if I condition like for the softball team, I feel like it's a little different than having like a strength and conditioning coach who, like, that's what they're like made of, and conditioning and training with all the other girls on the team. So I think that'll be a different setting, working with that, maybe doing stuff a little bit like that I've never done before. Yeah, I don't know.
And that you did answer the question. That's what I was looking for, because yes, absolutely, that is going to be a change for you. Lifting, a lot more power work, a lot more strength and conditioning work, and it's going to be a little bit amped. And also, you have a lot more film work, and things like that. And so, I guess that leads me into really now my last question, I promise. And that is, how are you with time management? You do play a lot of sports. You do have school. You have a lot of things on your plate. And I know it's going to get even more important for you as you get to college. How are you with time management, and what kind of things do you do with around that to make you successful?
Yeah, I think playing 3 sports has definitely helped me with time management, because, like, for example, basketball season, I'm going to school, going straight to basketball, going straight to softball practice, maybe throwing a bullpen after that, and then homework, and then bed. And I think that's pretty similar to what like the time that you would have in college. So I think I'm definitely lucky with like balancing like softball while I'm not in softball season has definitely helped me. I would say I try not to procrastinate as much as I can, because I know if I have maybe 30 minutes here, like that's 30 minutes of homework I could get done at another time, and 30 minutes of sleep, I just think playing the 3 sports and being so busy has helped me with time management, because I don't have a lot of time, so it kind of forces me to do stuff and work on a schedule. I think actually being more busy has helped me with time management.
Yeah, I think so, and that's good. That's great. It's going to be important in college, but you already have the basis for it, so you should be doing great. Do you have any last words that you want to share with our audience, or anything you want to say?
No, just work hard, and I want to thank you for having me on this. I had a good time talking with you, and I'm happy we got to do it.
Cool. And just tell the audience, because now you're going to be playing for Notre Dame, and tell the audience how to follow you, where to see what you're doing and kind of watch you as you progress. How do they do that?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and Twitter with Shannon Becker with 2 R's, and then once I sign at Notre Dame, they'll be posting, like, they can't technically post me now because I'm not signed yet, but once I sign and once I get there, Notre Dame softball has Instagram and Twitter, and they'll be posting like our games and stuff in the future when I get there.
That's awesome. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. I think you gave a lot of great information to the younger audience. And I think, I always say success leaves clues. And so I hope that some of the clues you're given, they pick up on them and they can emulate it, and kind of be in the same space you are, looking for Division I opportunities and playing the sports that they love. So thanks. And we'll definitely be following you, and wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the weekend.
You too.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.